Simply Stop Looking. That is the title of the message we are going to be listening to from a new spiritual teacher for me, is Gangaji, which you introduced me to. I haven't seen anything yet, so this will be my first take on what she's got to say.
I can't believe how long it took me to come across Gangaji. Like, what a miracle that life can just be like. And there's like footage from like that looks like the 80s. Like,
oh yeah.
Like she's been around a while. How did I not know about this person? And she says a lot of wise things, so I'm looking forward to this.
So it's absolutely simple what I have to say to you. It's what my teacher said to me. And I'm still deeply discovering the reverberation of that. And it's simply stop looking for what you want. Not cynically stop looking for what you want. Because there's a way of stopping looking for what you want in resignation and cynicism and closing down. But innocently, openly, stop looking for what you want in this moment. Not tomorrow when you have it. But in this moment, to take one moment, whatever it is you want, however mundane or profound, and just stop looking for it. And you will find more than what you could ever want. Because more than what can be wanted is already who you are. It's too simple to be grasped, but absolutely, completely realizable. If, and it is a huge if, of course, you are willing to give up your hope that what you want will be found in the next thought, or the next activity, or the next day, or the next man, or the next woman, or the next teaching, or the next experience. So that's huge. That's the challenge. And I've blessedly traveled to Australia to challenge you in that direction, that directionless direction. It's so simple that it has to be said over and over, because it just slips right by the mind. And if it's said over and over and in enough ways and then not said, it can just be revealed. Not as something new, but as something absolutely fresh. Not new, but fresh. Who you are is not new, but it is always fresh. Who you think you are is old and dead. Is that clear? It is? Because that's really the basis of what I have to say. It's not a teaching. It's not a belief system. It's not a way to live your life. It's not a should stop. It's not an if you stop, you will be rich and famous and universally loved and never have a sad moment. None of that, I promise. But if you're willing to investigate for yourself without believing it, or learning it, or hoping to get something from it, just a pure investigation out of the natural curiosity of the human mind, just to investigate for yourself what is here, when I stop trying to get anything. And how much of that is here? And where does that begin? And where does that end? And then the question, am I willing to trust that? And then the challenges get very big. But we'll get to that later.
So many ways to kind of like approach it. I've heard this before, you know, like, don't try to get it. Stop trying to get anything. And it becomes frustrating because then, you know, she also opened with the part that like put away this, put off the idea that, you know, this is going to make your life better, or you're somehow, you know, a video we just recently reacted to, one I think we posted today, talked about the same thing with Kundalini experiences. And how, like, you go into it thinking that, you know, you're going to acquire something great. You know, there's going to be some mass revelation that, you know, takes all your pain away or gives you some cosmic understanding. And, you know, she's essentially saying, you know, put all that aside. Just be curious, essentially. Just be curious. What can be found with just being curious, not thinking that you'll get anything out of it? And then I'm thinking about people who kind of like stumble across this material. They're like, what are you talking about? What am I getting? You know, what am I missing? What do you, like, please, more info. But I know that was also just a short clip.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe possibly there's something else beyond that. But I don't know. You led me to her. So what is it from her that sticks out to you?
Maybe well, recently I've been really liking Gangaji and Adyashanti because there's like a carefulness in with the way they disseminate this information. It's interesting what they leave out, what they don't, all the little meticulous things they don't address, and instead get to this point, which right away makes me think of Bible verses that talk about few are they that find it. You know, and from a Christian, they're going to be like, it's only talking about heaven. Don't make it anything else. But for a moment, imagine all the things that talk about the exclusivity, like the few that find. Narrow is the way, large is the gate to hell, and narrow is the way to heaven. And I think about the reality of like the human life. You know, when you're little, you kind of like what this person's describing. You're not overly thinking about stuff, you know, but then you start to cultivate an identity and an ego around probably like 5 years old or something. It really starts to solidify. And then by the time you're an adult, you're like in therapy or drinking or chasing like crazy. And you're like, and you know, just to get some things out of the way, I'm not talking about people that are full time trying to survive. Yeah. You know, that's one thing, is to like full time be in like, I don't have the means to survive. That's occupies all my time. And then you know, I don't have any room for really anything else. Not to say that you can't practice meditation or mindfulness even there. I just don't, I'm not trying to criticize somebody that's where they're at. But I do think a peculiar thing happens sometimes. Sometimes when you have people that have kind of got that covered, and then they're in the realm of abundance. They're in the realm of overabundance. They're like, they've even struggled with maybe addiction a little bit, like addiction to things, and seeing the pattern and the ups and downs and the ultimately unfulfilling nature of that. And then the addiction to relationships, the addiction to the paranoia, the grasping and the rejecting models over and over and over again. Yeah. And I think finally you get to like a narrow, small group of people that are like, well, there's nothing else, man. I'm like this close to becoming like, what is it called? An anarchist or like a nihilist. I'm this close to just saying, like she said, like giving up, but almost from like a bitter place. But if you hang on, if enough of this stuff goes in, and you're like, well, let me just try to let go. And it's like, nah, that's a thing again. Don't even try to let go. All of a sudden, I feel the need to speak on behalf of people that, like, I feel the need to conjure frustration, because you can get to a point, I think, in spirituality where all of a sudden you're like, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You will be given enough things to sustain you along the way. Like if you clean up your diet, you will start to feel better. If you start to meditate, it's a challenge, but your body will learn to calm down and you'll start to interrupt the frantic nature of the mind. You know, it's like, especially if you go from like a long meditation sit to like anything, all of a sudden it's like, I get to open my eyes and move around. I'm so free. But even past that, there's somewhere to get to past all those practices that are increased your life, where I think you actually let it all, even that go. You let it's all gets let go. And then when you get to the point where you start getting a sense of what that's like, to not be like plagued by the mind, and you see the futility of all your practices and all your spiritual practices, you start to see those a little,
and also
more
kind
for
of
what
like
they
the
are.
organic nature to always be trying to get to somewhere. There's
Yes.
because there's things that I think that are like beyond just you even thinking about. There's like bodily things that are like grasping to get constantly.
I want to mention the frustration because we've been so entrained to use our mind constantly use our mind, that you're going to get to a point where you're like, it comes to the place where you're now toying with letting go, and your mind's like, there's nothing to let go. I don't know, what do you want from me? I can't. It's still talking. It's still like adding its input, and you go, and the frustration, you can imagine someone being like, what are you? No, you're crazy. What are you even talking about? What are you even? Nope, that's not a thing. And it's like, well, then, yeah, that's why the groups get tinier and tinier the more esoteric the stuff goes. And then all the way to you do look at verses differently that talk about like, lest you become like little children, in no way shall you enter the kingdom. You're like, there's a return to the way you were before you had this dense ego, which will never stop tricking you. It'll be like, I'm getting so that was a good sit. I'm somewhere now. I look at how chill I behave. You know what I mean? Like it's just one deception after another till you see the giant whole thing is like, you're software. You're like deeply ingrained, corrupted software that won't stop. Yeah. Like the one talking even right now. Mm-hmm. And then you get into, then all of a sudden it starts to make sense when people say like, you can't write it down. You can't describe it. There's no talking about it. Yeah. And you're like, what's it? Right? And I would say like, give it a little more time, you know, and I'm okay. I think it's safe. Like you don't have to push anything. Yeah. Some people go too hard, you know, like Adyashanti talked about when he was doing it, like his teacher were like, you're meditating maybe too much. Like he was like, I was driven. And even Gangaji, when she said she met her teacher, Papaji, his main thing to tell her was like, stop. Yeah. And she was like, that'll disrupt this. What do you mean stop? I'm stopped. I'm a master meditator. Yeah, stop that even. You're like, oh, come on. It's like, well, you gotta let it all go. Yeah. Even even everything. And this is the question that I remember I used to always be like, where does this peace reside? When people would be like, the peace that passes all understanding, I'd be like, where is it? Because all you have is mind and body. Those are the only two things you can feel anything with. And go figure, there's something else. And so stay tuned for developments, because I don't want to speak beyond what I know. Yeah. But I guess a safe thing to say is, personally, I don't know, maybe you agree or not, just having some taste of the letting go process is pretty damn good. There is, to put it in scientific terms, I guess like the body, there's evidence of the good thing that happens in the body. Because you can go from being seized, like a contracted muscle, to like this. And it's like, yeah, but that's just breathing techniques. It's like, I stay tuned. Let's see where it goes. I want to wait till stay tuned. I want to wait till I know a little bit more about this stuff before. Like, I'm not an authority. I still listen to people guiding me through this stuff to get to some different states.
I tried to do it. You recommended some Adyashanti. I tried it this week, doing one of his guided meditations. So yeah, like Justin said, stick around. This is a journey for all of us. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I know some of these videos, some of them are deeper than other ones, but hopefully you liked it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone till next time,
stay spiritual.